Welcome everybody to another edition of Latto Talk, where we discuss all things related to neo-racial people. No matter what your mix is, you're welcome here. I'm El Mulaton, and tonight we're going to be talking about this idea of neo-racial people being the future. Is this true? Is this false? Let's find out together. Let's analyze it. Let's discuss it. I want to hear y'all's opinion on this. You can find this live every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on TikTok. So go ahead, give me a like, follow, or subscribe at Mongrel Uprising on TikTok and YouTube, at Papa Mulaton on Instagram and YouTube. And also, just for the record, these lives do get posted on YouTube. They're on my long-form YouTube account, at Papa Mulaton. All right. I see we got Mulatto Priest. What's up? How's it going, man? Good to see you again. Biscuit's back. Miss Coco, thank you for liking the live. Go ahead and tap that screen, everybody. Let's get the likes up. Let's get the likes all the way up. All right. So I made, before we get into the main topic, I want to give people a chance to get in here. So I made a video this week, a few days ago. And it was one of the most basic things you can imagine. One of the things you would learn in freaking grade school. I made a video saying that Native Americans are not Asian. And apparently this was controversial. I kind of knew it would be a little bit controversial because I had heard it enough that I felt I needed to make a video about it. But man, so many people really want Native Americans to be Asian. And I need to explore why that is. Biscuit, thank you for liking the live. Miss Coco says, I love the mulatto. Well, the mulattos love you. Miss Coco says, but they're not Asian. I know, right? It's basic. They're not Asian. There's a group of people called Asians, and then there's a group of people called Native Americans, and they're different. Yes, they both have the same ancestors. Yeah? The ancestors of the Native Americans come from Asia. Some come from Siberia. There's some speculation that some of them came from the Pacific Islands. But that doesn't make you Asian. It doesn't make you Asian if your ancestors from 10,000 years ago inhabited Asia. That would mean your ancestors are Asian, but that doesn't make you Asian. And we talked a little bit about this on previous streams. And the logic is so basic, you know? And I'm probably gonna make a follow-up video discussing the implications of that logic. The logic being that you basically, I mean, they don't even follow their own logic. The logic is basically you are what your ancestors were 10,000 plus years ago, you know? That doesn't make sense. Mulatto Priest says, brother, we Native Americans, we sailed over from Africa before them cave beasts. I know, right? And the funny thing is, I've been hearing some wild ass theories too. Someone posited the theory, or I guess the hypothesis, maybe they think it's a theory, that Native Americans have always been here. That it was the other way around. Native Americans have always been here, and then they moved into Asia. And the Asians descend from the Native Americans. There's people who believe that Asians themselves, modern day Asians, descend from the Khoi and San peoples of Southern Africa. There's people that believe, what was another one? We all know the one about the BLK indigenous people thinking that they were the real indigenous people and that they were here first, and then what we call Native Americans came afterward. Zero evidence. They don't have any evidence of this, you know. Just nothing. Jorge says, ¿Qué lo que se dilla? ¿Qué es lo que es semilla de blanco? Oh man. Um, let's see. I guess you would be semilla de negro. Jorge says, I can't trust Windows users like you. Okay. I might be a Mac user at some point coming soon. I might make the transition. Mulatto Priest says it don't matter. They all descend from the BLK womb, man. Mitochondrial Eve. Oh man. I made we did a live stream a while back about the Eve gene. And I probably need to make a more concise video, like a TikTok video or a YouTube shorts about the Eve gene. But that's funny. That is so funny. Anything to make themselves feel better about their history. But whatever. Let's see. Mulatto Priest says a real life friend tried to tell me that. Oh man. I haven't yet heard a lot of these like wild racial theories in real life. Aside from like some of the more like mainstream ones, like where they claim all these historical figures were actually BLK, like Cleopatra, the Egyptians, all that BS. But Mulatto Priest says, I love him to death, but he is mistaken. Yeah. I don't, seeing these responses to that video made me really like question, human intelligence and like the limits of it. Like, I'm hoping they're bots. Like, I'm really hoping that they're bots, but it's probably some of them are at least real, have to be real people. Maybe they're real people that were influenced by bots at some point. I don't know. We got Eurasian Identity. What's up? What's going on? We're about to get into the topic, but I'm briefly just discussing that latest video I made about Native Americans not being Asian and just the amount of BS that people have regarding that issue and how much they really, really want Native Americans to be Asian. Like, some people would comment, they would say a thing that I already addressed in the video. And this isn't unique to this video. This is kind of like something I've seen across multiple videos where, you plan ahead, you write out a script, and then you make sure, every claim is ironclad, your logic is ironclad, you can back up everything, and you're like, well, if I say this, then they're gonna say this, and then I'll respond this way, and then you make the video and you put it out, and someone in the comments makes a claim that you already destroyed in the video, as if they did not see the video. Now, it's very possible they did not see the video at all, or they watched the first like 3 seconds, because the way I do my videos, I have like a hook in the beginning, because like the way like short form videos, you got to get them like in the first like 3 seconds. So I usually have like my hook is like some provocative statement, and then I elaborate on it or I clarify it. But it seems a lot of people probably just watch the first 3 seconds, they hear the hook, and then they respond to it. Or they're just dumb. I don't know. They don't realize that I've already addressed their stupid little argument in the video. Eurasian Identity, I question human intelligence every day. Oh yeah. That's, being on the internet will make you do that. Eurasian Identity says, us mestizos are hapa, ay caramba. There you go. I like to see it. Okay. I probably am really gonna have to make a video saying mestizos are not Eurasian. But it's like such easy content though. Like, people believe some of the stupidest things. I almost have to question, am I like lowering myself to their level by addressing these like ridiculously, obviously stupid claims. But I mean, it's content, so, maybe I can use that to then get the more thought-provoking content out there and have that stuff get more views. But yeah. Jokaso, thank you for sharing the live. Good to see you here. Eurasian identity, yes, it needs to start off strong. Mulatto Priest, it's just like how they cling onto the idea that BLK Americans are all just mixed race people. Yeah. They're only mixed whenever they talk to us. Whenever we're not around, they're not mixed anymore. Eurasian identity, yeah, exposed to the lowest common denominator of people on here. Yep. Jorge says that Eurasian identity is from Siberia. Mulatto Priest says they constantly try to stomp out mixed race identities. Yeah, they have to. They need us for the numbers. Eurasian identity says I posted about 3/4 Europeans and someone asked why I didn't include Future the rapper. Like, dude, it says 3/4 European on the screen. This is what I mean. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm caught up with the chats. All right, let's get into the topic. I believe that neo-racial people are not the future. Okay, now I know I'm kind of going against the orthodoxy here. I'm going against the grain because the most commonly held belief here is that neo-racial people are the future. The future is ours. Yeah? But I actually don't believe this. So I'll give my take on this, and then I'll open up the panel to anybody that wants to discuss it. All right. So, let me first start off by explaining something. One of the things we're going to see is that there's a lot of words related to us as Lattos that we may not have words for in English, but Spanish already created a lot of the words. Obviously, like mulatto is a Spanish word, so there's also going to be other words related to that that we can use. And so I'm going to explain this word, which I've already explained before, but good refresher, mulataje. Okay, mulataje. I guess with like an English pronunciation, it would be mulataje. It sounds so wrong saying that, but if that's the best you got, then fine. Mulataje, mulataje, whatever. But this is going to be an important word for this conversation because mulataje is the Spanish word that refers to any kind of miscegenation or race mixing that results in mulattos. Yeah? Results in Lattos. Yeah? It doesn't have to be any kind of specific, I guess, way. It doesn't have to, it could be two mulattoes doing it. It could be African European creating it, but just keep in mind, mulataje refers to any kind of race mixing that results in mulattos. Now, I think there's some other meanings to it that are a little bit more subtle, but for us, this is just good enough for now. So I'm going to be referencing this word in this conversation, so keep that in mind. So I think it's inaccurate to say that we as neo-racial people in general are the future. And the reason is because miscegenation in general and mulataje specifically is not guaranteed to continue on in the future at higher rates or even at current rates, because that's kind of the prevailing idea. The idea is that we as neo-racial people are the future because mixing is so commonplace now. It's just going to keep happening. And all those paleo-racial people, they're going to die out. And they're just going to mix and breed their races out of existence. But this is not guaranteed. I think one reason is because we have this idea that like race mixing in general is this new phenomenon that wasn't happening prior to, the age of discovery, when in fact it really was. Race mixing was happening all over the world, throughout human history. All throughout human history, there have been races mixing, and they've created the people, the paleo-racial people today. For lack of a better term, like BLK and YT people, you can say. I don't really believe those are races per se, but y'all know what I mean. And so race mixing is always happening. Right now, it's a little bit different because we're seeing it happening between very distant populations. So like Europeans and Africans, or Asians and Africans, Asians and Europeans. Whereas in the past, it was usually more local. It was like, proximate communities were doing the mixing, not these very distant ones. But also just race mixing, it kind of requires some level of like either neutral to good race relations. Yeah. And there's no guarantee that that's going to happen in the future. There's no guarantee that race relations are going to improve. It's entirely possible that, at least in America, we could have freaking like race wars where people are going at it, and the US could like break up and everything. And then that could be something that would minimize the amount of mixing that's happening. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The next thing I would say is just that even if it were true, let's say it is true, neoracial people are the future, it's guaranteed. It's pretty obnoxious and arrogant to run around saying, we're the future, yeah? It's completely devoid of humility. And I try my best to be as humble as possible. That statement in and of itself might be a humble brag. I don't mean it to be, but I definitely do try to be humble. And I understand for a lot of people, it's very difficult to be so whenever you have a lot of these paleo-racial people just constantly shitting on us, constantly saying negative things about us, constantly having these negative stereotypes about us. It's kind of just human nature to just respond with the exact opposite. If they say you ain't nothing, then you say, no, I'm everything. I'm the best. I'm number one. I'm top dog. But I don't like that mentality. I don't like going about things that way. And so that's why I can't be on board with this. We are the future. It just sounds too arrogant to me. But I think one of the negative aspects of believing this is that it causes us as neoracial people to become complacent with where we're at. Because think about it. If the future is guaranteed, if the future is ours, what the hell do we got to do? We don't have to work. We don't have to build anything because we're the future. The future is ours. And it's you may think that won't happen to us. Like, we're still going to build, we're still going to do things. But your mentality, sometimes you don't really understand how it's going to affect your actions. And I don't think we should have that mentality. Let me get to the comments. I see Wes is here. What's up, Wes? Wes says, I don't necessarily think of us as the future. I just think that our numbers will skyrocket. I do not think that. I already addressed that a little bit, but I'll continue on. Let's see. Let me get some more chats. Eurasian Identity says, I don't like the idea that we are going to replace our parent groups, but I do believe in our growth. See, this is why I really want y'all to like come up when I open the panel, because I don't see where y'all are getting this optimism about our like growth. Because I don't see it. Let's see what else. Mulatto Priest says, and then most of us mix back into paleo-racial. Yeah, that's another thing. Funny thing, I'm reading I've been reading a shit ton of books about the mulatto identity in Spanish America and early United States. And one of the books I read, it was just talking about mulattoes in New Spain. And one of the things they said is that I think it was mulattoes and mestizos were the most likely to date outside of their racial group. I think mestizos were like number one. They very rarely, or maybe not very rarely, they didn't really date within like other mestizos very, very often. They were almost always dating out, and it didn't really matter whether it was like dating up, like, someone higher up on the caste system or someone lower. Like mestizos were with everybody. And mulattos to a lesser degree were as well. And that's something we gotta change. Let's see. Wes says, I think that our growing numbers will further normalize us. Mulatto Priest says, I mean, just looking at the numbers, we are growing slowly. I don't even know what the numbers are, but when I look at overall numbers for like in America for all people, like the population is declining. Whether or not that's a good thing, I don't know, because I can't predict the future. Some people seem to think it's inherently negative that our population is aging and declining. I think there are definitely going to be some problems with like the aging part. But I don't know if necessarily a declining population and lower birth rates is inherently bad. I don't know. Wes says, but no, wait. Wes says, well, in the UK, Lattos are marrying and procreating with each other more than ever before. Really? That's interesting. Definitely not in the US. But I know that I should be looking at this within a US context. Yeah, I mean, you can bring the any knowledge you have regarding the UK context. That's going to be useful information as well. Mulatto Priest says the multiracial population has doubled. Gotcha. I wonder what the other populations, what their growth rate is. Have they doubled as well? No? Or have they tripled? I don't know. Okay. Let me get back to the topics. Where was I? So I mentioned that believing this would cause us to would cause us to become complacent. And Wes gave a good clarification that, like, when I'm talking about the future, we are the future, I'm specifically talking about the idea that we would become like very populous, or we would become more numerous. We will continue to grow, like it's guaranteed and it's going to happen. This is what I'm talking about. Okay. So I think the better mentality for us to have is to assume we are not the future. Whether or not it is true, we need to accept it as if it's false, that we are the future. We need to accept that we are not the future. And I think we also need to assume that we are an endangered species. In our case, an endangered race that is on the verge of extinction. I think we need to believe that this century will be the last century of us as Lattos, us as neoracial people. Okay? Now, is that realistically possible? Probably not. There's for the next few hundred years, there will probably always still be some Lattos. But the type of growth that you're expecting or that you're desiring, you should operate as if, no, that's not going to happen, that we're just going to have a steady decline as the decades and the centuries pass. Because with that mentality, we are going to be far more motivated to build as quickly as possible to make sure that we do have a spot in the future. And I know it's, for a lot of people, it's comforting to believe that, yeah, we're just going to be the future. We're going to grow and we're going to take over things. But you have to make it happen. You have to take your future into your own hands and make that shit happen. So earlier I mentioned the word mulataje. Yeah. Mulataje referring to race mixing that results in Lattos being created. Yeah. So another thing I've seen that is somewhat related to this is this idea of relying on other races for mulataje. Yeah. And I think that's incorrect. So what do I mean? I mean, whenever people seem to be content with seeing like BLK and YT people getting together and creating Lattos. And they're like, all right, yeah. And to me, I don't think we should have that mentality when we see that. I think when we see that, we should be absolutely ashamed. We should be ashamed that other races are creating Lattos at a faster rate than we are. That these other races that are not our own, BLK and YT people, they're creating more Lattos than we are. That cannot happen. We cannot celebrate that. Yes, we should be glad that more Lattos are coming into existence, but man, not that way. We can't rely on other races to create us. We have to take that into our own hands, into our own control. Yeah? And so like I don't know, I've never seen that as like as something to be proud of. You know, I want to see like Lattos creating Lattos. I want to see Griffs and Quadroons getting together and creating Lattos. That's far more better, you know? And whatever kind of other configuration can create a Latto. Technically, 2 Griffs could create a Latto, 2 Quadroons technically could create one. But y'all know what I mean. So to wrap it up, like we need to take our future into our hands. We don't have to believe these things, these uncertain things, to make ourselves feel good. We need to be in grind mode when it comes to our future. We need to assume that the future is not guaranteed, like it's not locked in, that we could be wiped out, and that will cause us to hustle. That will cause us to work harder to what we want to achieve, an actual Latto community. Yeah. So let me get to the comments. Let's see what the chat has to say. Mulatto Priest says, but I get what you're saying though. The fertility period is declining. Wes, the sooner we're categorized independent of monoracials, the greater our growth will be. It's all about delimitation, distinction first, one step at a time. Delineation, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're already doing that. We're already making that distinction. And we've just also got to assert our identity even harder than ever. Because, you know, like one of the basic things of any community is you have to have people who have a shared identity. And a lot of our people don't even identify with us. They identify as paleo-racial. They're BLK, or if they don't explicitly identify as Latto or BLK, they'll identify as something else, and then they don't really care about actually being with their own people. Let's see. Mulatto Priest says, some things have to be done to ensure our population doesn't decline at all, but nobody wants to hear what I would say. Put it that way. Hey, I want to hear it. You can DM me. You can DM me. But yeah, I'm not sure if population decline is inherently bad. I get the case for why it would be, but I don't know. Like with the way the future's going and all these new technologies coming out, who knows what the future holds, and who knows what would be required. You know, I've heard stories of like this anti-aging technology, and people really hyping it up, saying like we might be the last generation to get old, and I think they said like the boomers might be the last generation to die. So if you have a situation like that where people are no longer dying, then that would be a scenario where high birth rates are not necessary, and constantly growing, isn't necessary anymore. But who knows? That's just speculation. Wes says, yeah, we can't keep relying on monoracials to create us. We got to start creating more of ourselves. Yeah, definitely. Latto Priest says, yeah, and then there's what creates the identity problems for Lattos suffer from. They're being raised on average by a different race of people who have completely different experiences. Latto kids need Latto parents with their experiences. I'll admit, though, it's not the easiest to date within your own kind as neoracial. Yeah. And the whole being raised by like paleo-racial parents wouldn't be inherently bad if we had a culture that actually believed in neo-racial people, actually respected neo-racial identities. But they don't. They marginalize our identities, or they belittle our identities, and so they just. Also, one of the things I've noticed is a lot of people want to have kids that are like them, that share their identity. A lot of people don't like the idea of their kids having a separate identity from them. And I think YT people have been trained to just accept that, but BLK people have not. BLK people want BLK kids, no matter what they look like. They want to be able to say, my kid has my same racial identity, BLK, and now I'm adding another foot soldier for the BLK cause. Yeah. And I've had conversations with some Lattos where they were talking about having kids with someone not even BLK, not even YT, not even Latto, and then saying, oh, but my kid is still going to be Latto. And it was like this person was like trying to convince themselves that even though the kid's going to be half of something that is not African, European, or anything, they were like, oh, but it's still going to be Latto. I'm like, I understand you want your kids to have your same Latto identity, but you just have to accept that that's not going to be the case, And I get it, Let's see. Wes says, I'm talking about getting the rest of society to respect that distinction. Yeah, that would be a good topic for another live stream. I might write that down, because I don't actually care about the rest of society that much. I care about the society. How would I put this? I care obviously what y'all think. That's the most important. Is that I care what other Lattos think, and the people in my life, I care what they think. The people I respect, I want them to respect my Latto identity. But when it comes to society at large, I mean, that's trying to change a society at that scale, like let's say America. That's going to require decades upon decades of work. You're going to have to engage in so much stuff that I would view as a distraction to do that. And honestly, I don't really care about like what a lot of these other people in society think. These are people that some of them absolutely despise us. Some of them are indifferent to us. And it's just, I don't know. I've never cared that much about what strangers think. Like, yeah, is it annoying to constantly have to correct people about your identity? Yeah, but I don't know. I think that could lead to some big distractions from creating your own like community and working with other Lattos and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe you had something different in mind, Wes. Let me write that down though. I'm just going to label it as respect from society. Latto Priest says, I'm at the point I just want us recognized and respected as a group. Yeah, again, like, for me, the fact that you all here respect my identity, that's enough for me. The fact that other neo-racial people respect my identity, like we had Eurasian Identity in here. Eurasian Identity, obviously she's Eurasian, but she respects our identity as mulattoes. Yeah. So that's good enough for me. Like I don't need like an entire society to be like, hey, that's a mulatto man right there. Like, I just don't really care that much about some of these people. Yeah. Nuclear says thoughts on banning race mixing. I'm opposed. I'm generally opposed to any kind of banning, especially like if you're talking about like the government like getting in people's bedrooms. Nah. Kuna says, what do you mean by neo-racial? Okay, so neo-racial is the term that I came up with to refer to like mixed race people, but not really mixed race people. Okay, so this could be a long explanation, but I'll try to make it short. So I don't like the term mixed race people because technically everybody's mixed race. The people you think of as monoracial, like BLK and YT people, they're actually mixed race. The thing is, they're mixed with races that no longer exist anymore. Because human beings have existed for hundreds of thousands of years, and they have been mixing throughout that whole time period. So the people we see today as BLK people, they're just a mixture of previous races that no longer exist. And whenever you look at like DNA studies of these different people, like you look at like let's say a European from a single part of Europe, his DNA is not going to be just one thing. It's going to be several different things. And these are, they're usually called ancestral components. So even the people we think of as being, quote, monoracial are actually just mixed race. But because the races they're mixed with don't exist anymore, they've died off, we view them as monoracial. So I don't like the term mixed race, so I came up with neo-racial to refer to the new races, okay, the modern races, meaning the races that did not exist like thousands and thousands of years ago. Like mulattoes didn't exist 5,000 years ago. But what we call BLK people, they did. What we call YT people, they did. Yeah? So they are paleo-racial. We are neo-racial. We are new races. Yeah? And that's one of the reasons why people have so many problems with us, because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to deal with us. We're a new thing to them. So that's why I like the term neo-racial. Wes says, unfortunately, we need the rest of society to be on board in order for delineation to be normalized. Well, in order for delineation to be normalized by society, yeah. But I don't need society's approval in order for you, Wes, to respect my identity. You already respect my identity. That's good enough for me. You're a mulatto, I'm a mulatto, we respect each other's identity. We've got Mulatto Priest here, he respects it. We've got freaking Jorge in La Casa, he respects it, all right? You know, to me, that's good enough. As long as I have enough people, like, we were talking about the Amish, the on the last stream. How do you think an Amish person would feel if everybody else in America didn't think he was Amish? They were like, you're not Amish. You're just, a Mormon. You think the Amish people are going to care what outsiders think about them? They don't care. They're doing their own thing. They're successful. They got their shops. They've got like their barns and stuff like that. Like they're doing just fine. They're like, we're Amish and we don't care what you think. Now, maybe Wes, you have like some more like, I don't know, grander aspirations for like Latto people. I don't really have that. Maybe you have like political aspirations for us. Like, I know a lot of people have those aspirations. Like they want more Latto politicians and celebrities and actors and stuff like that. I don't really care about that. Community first. Let's start with the community. Once we get a community, then we can like start talking about, other things. But yeah. P says it's literally percentages. Good to see you here, P. Mulatto Priest says, like the Anatolian farmers, Western hunter-gatherers. Yeah, exactly. You know what? As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull it up right now. I'm going to pull up a genetic study that analyzed Europeans, and I've shown this before. Where would it be? Okay. And you're going to see just how mixed Europeans are. Now, in the study, it doesn't name what they're mixed with. It just shows you that there's different things going on with them. Let's see. Who should I pick? We'll just do Italians. I have a photo that shows Italians. Actually, no, let's do Norwegian. Because I feel like some people could say some BS when it comes to Italians. Some lying BS. So I'm gonna think ahead and just show Norwegians. Norwegian. Okay, let's get the topic off the screen. Center that. Holy crap, can we get it smaller? Okay, this is... Can I rotate it? Here we go. This is the ancestral components of a Norwegian. Okay, you see there's a blue section. That's one ancestral component. There's that big orange section. And then you see some like tiny like green ones. There's like two like green slivers there. Notice how it's not all just one color, meaning they're just one thing, Norwegians. No, it's multiple ancestral components. AKA, they're mixed. They're mixed race. But because, whatever these ancestors were, because they don't really exist anymore, we just view Norwegians as monoracial. And it's the same with like, I'll do another one. I'll bring up freaking Sardinians. Sardinian Italians. No. Let's do Sardinians. This one's a trip. Come on, dude. Sardinians, rotate. Oh, it's because it's like so far off. Damn it. There we go. Sardinians are crazy. They're just like this one giant orange component and then a little bit of the green. Okay, so this is what Sardinians are. So most people would say, oh, these are both Europeans. They're the same race. But how is that when we analyze their DNA and we look at their ancestral components, how is that the same race? How are these two people the same race, But Sardinians, for the most part, they're kind of one thing, but they got that little sliver of green. And it's like that with most Europeans. I haven't seen, actually do have, the full study shows, I think, Africans maybe, but it shows a lot of Asians too. And they're just as like freaking mixed. So yeah. Last Chance says can't just erase genetics, bud. Not sure what you're talking about. Montana 3000 says, is he speaking Mexican? Isso mesmo, eu tô falando mexicano. Let's see. Last Chance says, well, Amish people are a religious sect of white Americans. It's not an ethnicity or race. I never said it was an ethnicity or race. Are you, oh, man. People don't understand analogies. P says exactly where pushed aside. Yep. It's a great comparison. I was comparing identities. I was comparing identities and people not respecting the identities. I wasn't saying freaking Latto is a racial identity and so is Amish. Amish is a racial. I wasn't saying that shit. Okay? I was comparing identities in general. Automatic says, what are you talking about? P says, I'm so happy I have y'all. Well, we're happy to have you, P. Thank y'all for the likes as well. I see the likes coming in. We're at 2.6K. Let's get to 3K likes. Let's get to 3K likes. Let's see. Wes says, I don't even care about quantity anymore. Quantity, like, you mean like population size, like numbers? Last Chance says, lol, mixed of ethnicities within the same race. They're not the same race, sir. Automatic says, especially Spanish, Portuguese, and Italians. Wes says, one Latto identified Latto in power is better than 10 BLK identified Latto Lattos in power. I don't know. Technically, we already had a Latto in power, and I don't think that went very well. Man, this Last Chance guy is really going at it. If an Italian mixes with a Swede, it is far closer genetically than if they did with an Asian black. No one said the contrary. You're strawmanning. Last Chance says, are these hominids? It could be some steppe ancestry, some yabba blah blah blah. No, they're hominins with an N. Hominid would include gorillas. Don't pretend to be smart, man. Just don't, okay? Last Chance, but they are all ancestors of modern Europeans. You don't understand biology. No, you don't. You literally said hominid. You said hominid instead of hominin, but you're telling me I don't know biology. Come on, man. Last Stance says, you've ignored every one of my comments. Okay. Okay, buddy. Let's see. Automatic says, what's the color mean? The colors represent ancestral components. So the two orange represent the same ancestral component, and then the blue represents another one, and the green represents another. Yeah. So yeah. Let's see, where was I? Let's see. Because last sentence is because the guy has no idea what he's talking about. I do. Care to break down what these ancestral components are? Is it DNA from ancient hominids? No, they're not DNA from hominids, from gorillas and freaking chimpanzees. Let's see. If so, it would be a main mixture of steppe, Anatolian farmer. Those are hominins. Some of those aren't even hominins. Like, oh my god. Automatic says, "What's Mexican American?" Are you serious? You don't know what that is? I feel like you should know what that is. Last Stand says, "As modern Europeans descend from those groups, read my new comments, dude." Yes, and they no longer exist as an isolated population. I will repeat I read your comments. Let's see. Where was I? Jorge says, if ice comes for you, I got your back. Dude, if ice comes for me, I know it was you who called. I know it was you. Oh, man. Well, you proved my point, lol. These are ancestors of Europeans. That was my point. That is not your point. Don't steal my point and pretend as if it's yours. It is my point that these are ancestors of Europeans. These are races that no longer exist anymore. And they're not the same race if they have different ancestral components and different percentages. Black and Irish says not all Europeans are the same. Thank you. Yes. And this is one demonstration of them not all being the same. and it's not even only these. This bar that you see, these were created with a program called Admixture, and it's specifically for detecting different ancestral components. And but it's crap. My mic keeps going out. But it's not the only way to detect differences within populations. There's also the fixation index, which detects genetic distance. And I hate to break it to you, but there's a lot of Europeans who are very distant from each other. And yet we're still going to pretend like they're all the same race. It's not the case. Like, I think Sardinian Italians, I believe they're closer to, oh man, I can't say the word. There's a group of people in the Middle East, and their identity starts with a P, but I can't say the full name. And I think I believe the Sardinian Italians are as close to them as they are to Russians. Okay. And in some cases, there's certain Europeans that are closer to Mid-East people than they are to other Europeans, but they're all the same race. Let's see. Can you do Mexican American components? The study that I'm referencing, it doesn't put Mexican American. It only puts like a few populations. Last Stance says, dude, are these people you are citing ancestors of Yamanaya, steppe and Anatolian farmer? Those are literally ancestors of modern Europeans. Again, that's a straw man. I never claimed that these ancestral components aren't ancestors of Europeans. You're a dunce. Last Stance says, dude, modern Europeans all grouped together genetically far closer than any member of a different race. First of all, define race. If you're going to use the term race, define race. And second, no. Sardinians and Russians, for example, are very genetically distant. Let me actually pull up something real quick. Because I have this chart that I use. Let's see. Sardinians, let's see, 0.20. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I was right. Actually, no, I was technically wrong. Sardinian Italians are closer to those people from the Middle East that don't have a land. They live on the strip, yeah? Sardinian Italians are closer to those people in the Middle East than they are to Russians. So I was being a little, I wasn't going far enough. Montana says the Portuguese are not the same as the English. Facts. Yeah, they're different. Last Chance says, obviously a Japanese man is not the same as Vietnamese man, but they are far closer than to a diff race. That's not English. Let's see. Hey, guess what? The genetic difference of a European and any non-Euro is infinitely larger. Again, you're arguing against a claim I never made. I never made the claim. Actually, no. I just didn't make that claim. Yeah, Sardinian Italians are closer to those people in the Middle East that live on that small strip of land, than they are to Russians. Let's see. Northern and Southern Italians are genetically distant from each other. That's why they're culturally different. Yeah, they're not going to be as different, obviously, but actually, Mulatto Priest, Sardinian Italians are there's probably more distance between Sardinian Italians and Peninsular Italians than between North and South, because let's see, let me pull it up. Sardinian Italians and Peninsular Italians. Where am I? So FST value of 0.007, which is about the same as the Oh, wow. Okay. 0.007, which is pretty close. They're pretty close, but it's not super close. Yeah. That's the same genetic distance as the Scottish and Peninsular Italians, which is interesting. So two groups of Italians, Sardinian Italians and the Italians that live on like the Italian peninsula, the distance between them is the same as between Peninsular Italians and the Scottish people. So they're pretty distant for both being Italian, you know. Let's see. Read this host. Okay, now you're spamming. And you're spamming the exact same thing. Okay, so you're spamming. I'm actually willing to read anything. DM me. Don't freaking spam my chat. Cause I'm gonna mute you. You just got 5 minutes of timeout. When you learn to behave, sir, then you can speak. If you want me to read a study, I'll gladly read a study. DM me the study and I'll read it. Guarantee you're still full of shit. Let's see. Wes says Levantines are West Eurasians too. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Let's see. Montana. Wait, they call me Missy says historians believe that modern humans are descendants of different species of ancient man. Let's see. By the way, the graph I gave you literally proves you wrong. Lol, Sardinians are closest to Basque and Spaniards. When did I ever say they weren't close to Basque and Spaniards? I literally have a chart right here that I could explain you. The genetic distance between Sardinians and the Basque is 0.13. So I know this. You're arguing against statements I never made. So you have to make up stuff I never said and then attack it. I muted you because you were spamming the chat, homeboy. He was being very snarky and disrespectful. I don't mind him being snarky and disrespectful. The problem I have is spamming the chat and being dumb. That's a problem. It shows even Sardinians are closest to Basque and Spaniards, not non-Euros. I never said that. I never said... First of all, it is correct to say... the statement that I gave is correct. Sardinians are closer to the P-word people living in the Middle East than they are to Russians. That is a fact. It is also true that they are genetically close to the Basque. I never said they weren't close to the Basque. You think you're disproving me. You're not. You're telling me shit I already know. I think Mulatto Priest says, I think he's a YT nationalist, which is fine, but be respectful. He's just dumb. He doesn't know how to make arguments. Let's see. Montana says it's Vanguard. Oh man. Let's see. I blocked his second account. Oh man. Maybe because you just see about YT people. When did I ever say anything about YT people? When did I ever say anything about YT people? I think he's probably one of those pan-European YT nationalists, so he wants them to be all the same. But yeah. Okay. If anybody wants to join the panel, you can join the panel. We can talk about the topic that I initially started off talking about, which was ¿Dónde está? It's right there. Neoracial people are not the future. We can discuss our future in general. We can discuss whatever. But panel's open. Montana says he's a pan-European that doesn't live in Europe. Probably. Most Europeans that I've seen aren't really pan-European. They're not down with that. And I've met some Europeans that were pretty like, you know, pretty nationalists on the nationalist side. Yeah. Um, and they were not down. Like if you told them, if you told them, hey, yeah, we're gonna have this like community, and we're gonna like have Italians and like Germans and some English, they would be like, nope, 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 I'm not doing that. Like Europeans, this is a very American thing, this pan-European BS. But it's fine. It's really the only thing they can cling to, because they're they're mixed too. Their DNA test doesn't show one thing on it. So they're really mixed, and they don't know what to do about it. Pan-European is the only way to go. But yeah. I can pull up some more of these charts. So I showed Norwegian and Sardinian. I also have some principal component analysis. Analyses, I believe is the plural. That shows like okay, so this one is Y chromosomal diversity. That's not that great. Montana says, I seen an Englishman telling a Portuguese man to go back to his country. That's not very pan-European. Oh no. Oh no. Dude, the English get upset with other people in the UK. Like with the Scots and the Welsh and the Northern Irish. Or even just you're from the freaking north of England. Oh man. Wes says Englishman would happily holiday in Lisbon every summer if he could afford it. Oh man. But I mean, that's usually how things go. If you have not only a racial identity that's solidified, but an ethnic identity, when you have like you have your community, you have your people, your culture, everything is in place. You're not really about, hey, let's now join forces with some other group and like create this melting pot. Like, no, not if you already have that community. Now I can understand in our context, a lot of us are mulattoes from like different parts of the country, different parts of the world. And if we're all going to create a community together, yeah, we would have to have some kind of melting pot kind of thing, So, but that's just the nature of how we are. But you can't expect like Europeans to do that. And I honestly don't even think you can expect Americans of European descent to do that. Do you really think like someone who is proudly Italian American is going to be like, yeah, let me just like abandon my Italian identity or like blend it with someone who's freaking, I don't know, Swedish American? Like, no, they're typically like, I like the way we Italians do things, bada bing, bada boom. And they don't want to be eating like strudel with like some Swedish family or something, Mulatto Priest says Russia and Ukraine are both the same people, yet they're at war currently. Yeah. Oh man, that's so crazy. Yeah, that's the funny thing is like I've spoken to Russians and they genuinely feel like a bond with Ukrainians. But whenever I've only spoken to like 2 Ukrainians in my life, and man, do they not like Russians. They just do not like Russians. And it's so weird because I'm not sure, I haven't looked into too much of the history. But if they're not the same, they're damn near very, very close to each other. And I don't know when the split happened. Oh, I guess it happened during the Soviet Union when there was like bad blood between them. You know, there was a whole thing called I don't know if I should say the name, but there was a lot of starvation happening in Ukraine whenever the Soviet Union was around. And so that, you know, they're kind of bitter about that. I can understand, you know? But yeah, that's crazy. Maritza, what's up? She says, you're so right. I wouldn't give up my Cypriot culture for anything. Yeah, definitely hold on to that. You know, definitely got to keep the culture that you inherited. Yeah, keep it going. And I don't know. I think a lot of those pan-Europeans are usually they're obviously more American, but I think they're also probably more English descendant Americans who don't necessarily have, you know, that hyphenated culture, I guess, like I said, Italian American, Irish American, or something like that, you know. And so they want to be supremacists, but just have more numbers, and then bring in all these other people who have different cultures, people from different ethnic groups. Yeah. Mulatto Priest says Anglo or Germanics are usually racial purists. I mean, that's kind of the stereotype, yeah. I think I won't say the word, but there's a thing related to racist science in regards to genes and stuff that starts with an E. Yeah, it starts with an E. I think that started in America with like Anglo-Americans, and then the Germans in Europe adopted it, you know, prior to World War II and during World War II. So they got that from Americans. Oh man. But yeah. P says they think they're inferior. Yeah. Mulattoism says not in all cases. Yeah, not everybody, but there is that stereotype for a reason. Yeah. But yeah. We're at 5.7K likes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Also, if y'all ever have any ideas for any topics y'all want me to cover on these live streams or even like videos, let me know, because y'all are my main audience. Y'all are the people I'm trying to like cater to. So if y'all think of something y'all want me to cover, or y'all want me to research something, let me know. Prime example of someone doing this was what's his name? Mulatto Genesis, that's his name. Okay, Mulatto Genesis, he told me about San Martin de Porres, the mulatto saint, and he was like, "Hey, mulaton, like look into this." I was like, "Oh, okay, let me look into this." And it was a freaking awesome adventure I went on, and I created I did a live stream on it, and I did a video on my TikTok talking about him. And it was very eye-opening for most of us here to know that there was a saint out there who was a mulatto like us, you know? And I have to credit Mulatto Genesis for that, because he was the one that told me about it. So if y'all have something y'all want me to cover, just let me know. Send me a DM. My DMs are open. Say, hey, what do you think about this? Cover this. You know, I really want to hear what y'all have to say. Let's see. Mulatto Priest says, well, they did start the one drop rule. Plus, they were the ones telling other Europeans like Italians and Slavs that they weren't. They weren't white tea. P says, have a great night. Great live tonight, friend. Thank you, P. Thank you for joining. Come back again. So Latto Priest, I think in America, they obviously were the ones who created the one drop rule, but I've been doing some reading into Spanish America and how it went. There was a few instances in history, like in Spanish America before the United States was even a thing, where they had kind of their own version of the one drop rule. It wasn't like formal and it didn't last very long, but I know like at the very beginning, I at least found one source that stated this. At the very beginning, when the Spanish and the Portuguese came, they were not concerned about naming the different mixes that existed. Like if you were a Latto, they just dumped you in the BLK category. If you were a mestizo and you kind of looked more Indian, they were dumping you in the Indian category. And if you were mestizo but you looked more European, you were just dumped into the Creole category, which was just the Spanish category. Yeah. So in the beginning, there was really just the three categories: Spanish, Indian, and BLK. And it wasn't until the numbers started growing that they were like, oh crap, we gotta do something. We gotta fix this. And then that's when they started employing all the actual casta system with all the different categories and stuff like that. So I think what that says is that in certain parts of the world, like they were using Latto, like there were Spaniards that were using Latto, but in other parts they were not using it, or it hadn't caught on yet, you know? And I might have to double check the timelines on this, because as far as I know, like Latto was used very early on, like probably even before the Spaniards came to the Americas. But I think the assumption that a lot of us have is that if it was used before by a few Spaniards before coming to America, then it was used by all Spaniards. But that might not have been the case. It may have been the case that in the beginning, only a few Spaniards were using the Latto terminology, and the others either didn't know about it or didn't care about it, and were just kind of one-dropping Lattos. And then it wasn't until, like I said, later on, they started adopting it, you know. Mulattoism says, I have Hispanic and French ancestry. Both of this European sides are very purist. One drop was also adopted by Hispanic countries. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so they're going back and forth. Mulattoism says, in Spanish America, socially speaking, the one drop rule is still in effect. I am South American, grew up in Venezuela, and they have socially a form of one drop rule. Really? Mulatto Priest says, I never heard that. That's crazy. I didn't know it was in Latin America like that. I don't know. It might depend. Might depend on how you do it or where you go. But yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to end the live. I think I'm going to end it there. Like I said, if you want me to cover a topic, let me know. I will at least look into it. What else? Follow me on YouTube. Where's my YouTube? Papa Mulaton. That's my long form content. I'm also on Instagram at Papa Mulaton. I'm still making my video about the definitions of paleoracial and neoracial. I'm like about halfway through editing it. I want it to be kind of a more professional looking video, a little bit more engaging. But that should be coming out at some point soon. I'll promote it. And then what else? What else do I have coming up? I think that's everything else I've got coming up. But yeah, hit me up. Thank you, everybody. Marvel expert in trainings is what are all these psyop movements, bruh? First FBA, now this. Yeah, we're actually working for the CIA, and we're trying to divide the BLK community, and make sure that they don't have any political power. And we're also being funded by a lot of foreign intel companies as well. There's a few jihadis that are also financing us. We're doing it all, you know. Mulatto Priest says, okay, no panel, that's cool. Well, there was nobody requesting. I didn't see anybody like requesting. Jorge says people who complain about that want to be YT. Okay. I'm going to get out of here. I will catch you guys later. Thank you, Mulatto Priest, for coming. Thank you, Wes was here. Thank you, Jorge. I see Mulata Angelo is here. Thank you. Who else was here? P was here. Thank you. Mulattoism. Thank you. Let's see. Maritza dropped in. We had Montana 3000. Thank you. Who else was here? Thank you, everybody. If I didn't say your name, thank you to the freaking YT guy, Last Dance, who thought he could school me on biology. Catch me every Friday night, same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern on TikTok. I'm out of here.